Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Glenn. Good morning, Father Ben.
Good morning sa lahat.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Father Ben. Mercy, good morning.
Hi, Mercy. Good morning.
So, Glenn can tell us more about the food situation overall. So, I'm happy that he can join us. So, Mercy, Glenn is a member of the NAST, National Academy of Science and Technology. He's the director of the Sharka.
Yeah.
Baños.
Actually, we have not yet explored the outreach of Sharka and UP, UP Los Baños.
Oo. Lockdown pa rin part ng UP Los Baños. Good morning po.
Morning. Sometimes we need technical help for our farmers.
Yeah. We are here to serve.
So I think, maraming in our pre-meeting, we had 3 nights ago. And Glenn was, of course, pointing out how complex the problem is, but also how maybe algorithms or apps or new communication platforms might be able to help bridge the gap between the supply and the demand.
Yeah.
Dami pa rin daw na aaksaya ng mga produce.
Oo nga eh.
Oo. But Glenn, Mercy, we'll talk about your value chain to some of the business establishments or even the leading food businesses like Jollibee. And then Father Ben will, it's nice that you will share with us the extended initiative with Gawad Kalinga. So I think, as indicated in our poster, we'll start with Father Ben, and then Mercy, and then Glenn will give us the general picture from Sharka and also from the DA, because I understand you are in touch with the DA Secretary, Glenn, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice. Father Ben, remember when we already planned to visit Secretary Dar about the Moringa program, because I felt we had the value chain. And then his USEC, Vishera, he never replied to me, even if he had given me his cell phone number and his card and email address. That was Christmas.
The challenges we face in Philippine culture is that in general, just setting policies or systems does not work. You have to engage in relationship building. Filipinos respond to relationships. And that's why it's very difficult to build something really national. You have to be a little more patient. The biggest scale that I can think of is really maybe the LGU level. At that level, or maybe province level, but you have to maintain the relationships. In other words, because no matter what policy you set, relationships can either make it or break it. We are a relational culture, and we just have to live with that.
I think
we try to imitate the United States with or the Western countries, but it doesn't work. The reason that places like China or Taiwan can do better is that Confucian culture has structured relationships. Confucianism is almost, in a very simplest terms, is really a process of clarifying relationships with father and children, children and father, mayor and people, and so on. So that has become structured with them. But we don't have such a structure. So the best we can do is to begin with families, relationships, and build that. That's one thing I've learned, and I think the US is not a good model for us because for Europe, we have to look at other Asian countries. The same in Indonesia, and the strength of the Confucian countries like Vietnam or China or Taiwan is that Confucianism itself has a structure of relationships.
So, Father Ben, that insight has also been concluded. Well, that has also been shared in our discussion of STEM education. So
Yes.
the building on the LGU level. So actually, we were trying to promote all the things we discussed about STEM education. Then one of our discussants showed the success of Romy Solis of this learning in a box. So he has this program, and apparently his success is through connections, building the connections through the LGUs,
Yes.
maybe the depth ed at that level. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So for example, on education, I've been attending Zoom meetings with different divisions with Northern Luzon, and it's working because Synergia Foundation has been building those relationships since 2000 for 20 years. So the mayors, the DepEd people, the teachers, the parents know one another, have already relationships because of the work that has been done over 20 years by Synergia Foundation. But I don't know if it will work in other places. They may not even show up for the Zoom meeting. But here, big number, about 400 would be on Zoom and another 1,000 or 2,000 on Facebook, talking about how to deliver modules to their children. But yeah, I'm sure Mercy has to sustain a lot of those relationships with people, the connections. The connections are not just policy. Whether we like it or not, they are people.
Yeah.
I agree, Giselle.
Yes.
Because like with DA, Bisera, we could always call him kasi kilala eh. Kasi if you call them, hindi kilala yung number mo, ma'am,
Yes.
they will not mind it because they have a lot of callers. But pag naka-register na yung pangalan mo, Glenn Gregorio doon sa kanila, they will answer it.
Yes.
Dar like that because the connection, the relationship is really very important.
Oo nga.
Yeah. I always tell other administrators that my secretary knows the secretaries of all the people I deal with.
Yeah.
Because the secretaries are the gatekeepers. If you want to reach somebody higher up, they don't answer their own phone. No? Their secretaries do. So my secretary knows them by name, knows their birthdays. And so our calls go through. That's the reality. The Philippines. No, it's not just the Philippines. That's Asia. The same in Indonesia, in other places. It's not unique to us.
It's cultural, no?
It is cultural. It's cultural.
Well, it has its pros and its cons.
Well,
yes.
But we have no choice. That's the way we are. We're not going to change. You cannot change us overnight, no? You have to live with it. We cannot change our culture overnight. You have to work within our culture.
I think it's always nice to showcases, point out showcases of success. So if there is an LGBTQ-based success,
yes,
dapat pakita, dapat many more people can learn about it and follow the way it's done, right? So I hope that
kaya very powerful ang social media ngayon, Giselle.
Okay.
Yes.
I-friend mo siya sa Facebook like Dar or like yung mga kwan, ang bilis.
Yes.
Those are your connections. Or kasama mo siya sa Twitter or you are ka-Viber mo siya. That's very important actually. I find it very relevant.
Well, I kind of only do Viber. Twitter. Madali magkamali sa Twitter, no? Father Ben, do you do Twitter? Wow, I believe not.
No. I depend on my younger friends to keep me informed of Twitter and Facebook. They send to me things I should know about Twitter or Facebook.
So, Father Ben, Gladys here is one we're working with on Moringa. Gladys of Los Baños, chemistry, biochemistry.
Hi.
and also a
Morning.
teacher collaborator of Carlito Lebrilla on breast milk. She will talk about breast milk feeding. So
Yes.
wow, sabi ko, pagka binuo lang natin ito, wow, edi among ourselves, ang dami na pwedeng matutunan, new connections again. And then, of course, Ana Villalobos is in Central Mindanao U, okay, with
Right.
Victor Amoroso, well, our NASP member, and she'll talk about ferns. Ferns as another major source of nutrition, growing in the highlands. And then she too has already done her value chain and farmer training. Kaya maganda. I think this group is, again, it's providential that we were able to bring this group together. Actually, Glenn here is from CMU also, right? Glenn from way back.
I was born there up to high school. Then I go up to high school.
Ayan, Bukidnon. And then Yas Winyo, hi Yas, morning, is with the Diliman Chemistry.
Morning, ma'am.
She's
Morning.
our she's our small molecules mass spec expert in UP, and she's looking at the metabolomes of the plant materials, working with Anne and Victor. So we can move forward with the connections on the LGU levels, but we can
Yeah.
also move forward based on the science, the frontier instrumentation. Because Mercy, by doing this kind of mass spec analysis that Yas and Gladys are doing, we can actually do a food fingerprinting. We can tell which kinds of carbohydrates, for example, are present in this food. Aside from glucose, there are other carbohydrates that are good for us, like rhamnose and fucose for brain function and also for the immune system. I hope Gladys has a chance to talk about it because this is her important research, Father Ben, with Carlito Lebrilla, Picari of UC Davis with UP Los Baños, and Pascual Pharma. So it's all interconnected.
The most structured LGU in terms of first 1,000 days from pregnancy to 2 years old is Malabon City. You should get to know them. They have a very sophisticated facility for breast milk. In other words, they will get a donation so that they have the technology to test the breast milk, so that's okay. And they are able to persuade mothers to donate. And so they are able to they're able to keep the breast milk for a year. And any mother who needs it can get from them. Aside from they provide, they gather carinderias all over Malabon. And is responsible for 20 to 30 days. Monitored. They have very good records of it. So it's really the most opinion. Intervention at the level of the first 1,000 days. I was quite impressed. Oretta, who is chef, and the carinderias and the what do you call it, the health workers. So at least from the science point of view, you might want to look at what they're doing because they have figured out the whole system.
Ayan.
Right.
Very impressive.
So we'll contact them.
Father Ben, you know, we've been trying to contact Enrique Ostrea. So our NAS corresponding member from Wayne State. So he's the person who led this field trial on moringa. Moringa, not just breast milk. Also in school children. And he had some conclusions. It was DOST.
Maghintay siya, Day. Maghintay.
But you know what happened in one of our last meetings? He was present, and there was an issue about corresponding members and all that stuff. After that, he became inactive. And yesterday, when I entered LinkedIn, I saw Enrique there. You know, because he's not responded to me or to us again regarding this moringa value chain that we we're creating. See, so I think that it's time to do it. He did it all in Malabon. And I don't know if this program he described in Malabon City is linked to what he did in Malabon. How I wish the NAST could contact him and he could become active again in NAST. MD, no? And this is a very, very, well, important person. He is a UP medicine valedictorian and all that. So it's, yeah, too bad he's not active anymore in NAST. Anyway, so we will be starting in a few minutes. And, well, it's very nice when the group is not very big. Actually, I know, Father Ben, you want to have the group that's very, very big.
I have
yeah.
another Zoom meeting at 9, so I have to leave about 5 minutes before 9. So
Okay, that's why you're, yes. Okay, so what's nice about this chat is in PAASE is it selects for the people who are really interested in the topic and the projects, and then you start getting more people involved in a meaningful way. Doesn't have to be the big numbers. That's why I'm a believer in that. As you said, it's just the critical connections. So at this time, we already have Mary Jane Kalagi from Mary Jane. Good morning. Are you from Kalagi? I mean, are you from Cagayan? State U? Mary Jane? Yes. I think we met. Then I asked Pros Naval of Computer Science, Diliman, to attend, so that Glenn, we might be able to help out in you know, this connectivity between the demand and the supply. And just last Friday, Pros gave a webinar, our Friday PAASE webinar on fish eye. So it is this algorithm, it's this well, computer platform that he created to be able to track, to count the number of fish, okay, in a given area, okay, for purposes of conservation and food, no? And we have also Lulu Harold, the secretary of our PAASE, who's very much into science education. She's a chemist and very, very interested in our, what I would call our social amelioration interests and hopefully our projects. And then we have also Mary Jane, hi Lulu, and we have Joyce Ibana. Joyce Ibana, who is our immunology, cell immunologist and biologist in UPD Institute of Biology, and very interested in projects like this, having to do with agriculture and then food and nutrition and probiotics. So I think we have a good group here. We're seeing Al Sarafika. Hi, Al. Good morning.
Al.
Thanks for joining.
Hi, Al.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good
Hello,
morning.
everyone. Good to see
Wow.
everyone.
And we have Gil Mendoza. Hi, Gil. Thanks for joining. Okay, so we will be starting.
Ann, are you still in Bukidnon? I haven't gone back.
I'm still, yes, I'm still in Bukidnon.
Yes,
Moved.
that's so great. So if it's all right, we will start now, and I will share the screen on our yeah, this one. This is our screen for today's chat. Oh, I lost it. But anyway, thanks for joining us, everyone. We're happy to be on a Fireside Chat 5, episode 5 on addressing hunger and malnutrition during the pandemic. We know it's growing from the SWS results. The survey is over 30% now. And we'd like to emphasize our through food value chains. And joining us today is a very important team that's entrenched. That's entrenched in food projects. And I'd like to thank Father Ben for taking time to be with us again. Mercy Abad of ASHI, Ahon sa Hirap Foundation. And we'd like to um, remind us that they were our plenary speakers in this session on outreach to Philippine regions in 48 PAASE. We're also joined today by Glenn Gregorio, who, as we know, is a Siarca director based in UP Los Baños. And he can tell us his take on the problem overall. And he also has information on the DA programs. Then we have our two chemists, biochemists, Yasuino of UPD Chemistry, our metabolomics expert, who's working with Anne Villalobos and Victor Amoroso on analysis of ferns, but she's doing it for many other natural products, plant natural products. We have Gladys Completo of UP Los Baños, chemistry, biochemistry, working on plant-based projects to look for anti-cancer compounds with Carlito Lebrilla. And is also working with me and Father Ben to try to come up with a Moringa program together with UPLB food scientist and Institute of Plant Breeding scientists. I'd like to thank Anne Villalobos for organizing this chat with me. My co-moderator, Anne, is our champion on our social amelioration project. She is our committee chair, and she leads in this project on developing ferns as a major food source with Victor Amoroso. And she'll tell us a lot of, her multi-pronged projects, including farmer training during this chat. So Father Ben will speak first, and then afterwards, Mercy, and then I'll turn over the floor to Anne, and Anne will speak and moderate the rest of the chat. So Father Ben,
Okay.
thank
I'd like to
you.
share my PowerPoint.
Okay, so I will make you a Father. I will make you a co-host,
Okay.
and then you can share your PowerPoint. And I think Glenn also has, so I will also make him a co-host. Everyone, in fact.
Just tell me when I'm okay.
Yes, please. You should be okay. Please share.
Okay. So what I want to share with you is work that I do with Gawad Kalinga. Gawad Kalinga very recently has launched a program called Bayan Anihan. It is a separate organization from Gawad Kalinga because it is kind of commercial. It has to deal with buying and selling products. It has a very young group. This is Colleen managing it, and so they're very techy.
You will wait a bit because it's chopping out.
Market partnerships. Is choppy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you give me a minute? Can you wait 5 minutes?
Yes.
Thank you. A more stable connection.
Can you hear us well, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But lately talaga the signals have become unstable eh.
It's true. It's true. But still, Zoom is effective. Am I right, Ross? Because low bandwidth ang ginagamit, di ba? That's why it's still highly successful. Still among the best. So, Father Ben, maybe you can try because it might be okay now. Father Ben. So, if you don't mind, Father Ben, maybe there. He's reconnecting. I think he will use another. So, Mercy, while waiting for Father Ben, do you want to speak about the?
Okay,
Okay, Mercy, Father Ben.
okay.
Yes.
Our work is very simple. We are trying to improve the lives of the Laylayan and the poor farmers. Now, with the farmers, our task is to gather them in clusters, no, and circumvent the middleman. So we connect them directly to big corporations. So far, it has worked well. But the biggest challenge is to break down their mindset, of just working alone. They're not used to working as a team. So that's the first thing that we really teach them, how to work as a team. Now, so far we've met with relative success. We are able now to support Walter Mart, 9 stores of Walter Mart we are supporting through the work of our farmers. So they are sure now of ready market. Then we also uh, give to Chowking, the Jollibee chain of companies, and Mang Inasal directly. The farmers deliver directly. Then Max Group of companies have also opened up for us. So that's the entire Max restaurant, Densio, Pancake House. That's a whole slew of restaurants, including Yellow Cab Pizza. So it's so heartwarming to see the farmers now earning well. In fact, one team of our farmers, they were able to buy their own delivery truck and has paid for it fully already. So it's not such a happy thing to see them earning well. It's not the middleman. And then it's such a happy thing to see that they're not wallowing in debt like before. They could never recover from their debts. Every time it's harvest time, it's just enough to pay for their debts in the previous planting time. That doesn't happen anymore. And they're able to provide for their families. So it's just a very simple, what do you call that, program. But the most difficult part of it is really breaking down their bad habits.
Okay.
So in general, that's what we're doing. Very simple, but very effective. Then it also attracts the sons, the children of the farmers who are abandoning farming already. And that's one of the challenge to attract the younger generation into farming, so that our old farmers will have a replacement. Yeah. Now, when you teach farming as a business, then they can see that there is enough there to make a living. So Father Ben is there already, Giselle. I think
Yes.
in general, I have given you the
That's I think
program, our program.
for everyone's information before I pass it on to Father Ben. There are 87,000 nanays all over the country enrolled in Mercy's ASHU program. Okay, 87,000. And they have a 1 billion peso credit line from Land Bank that they are able to pay, I think 95% or so performance. So later we will ask.
Well, that has gone down because of the pandemic.
Yes,
Gone down to 75%.
understandably, no. So
Yeah.
now we have to find ways for PAASE to help you. Let us know later how we should try to help you. Okay. So thanks, Merce. I'll now turn over to Father Ben. It's your connect. Okay now, Father Ben. Yes. Can you screen share?
You have to make me a co-host again.
Okay. Make you again a co-host. So this is a new connection. All right.
Okay.
It's great.
Sorry, I have to find my. Oh. Apologize. I have to find my PowerPoint.
Okay.
I
I'll
got
help
lost
you
in the
for it.
transition.
What's the title, Father Ben?
It's
Hunger Warriors? No.
Pardon?
Hunger Warriors? No.
No, no.
Uh-uh.
Baka itong PAASE school feed.
Ayan.
There.
Ah.
I got it.
Ayan, box F. Ayan, yan.
Okay. All right. So,
Okay.
as I was saying, this is a program that launched by Gawad Kalinga called Bayan Anihan. And its role is to connect family farms to markets through partnerships. And it acknowledges the things we've been discussing, the challenges that face farmers, small farmers, as they connect to market. We discussed the challenges they face. Connecting to markets is the one I will dwell on. But we know also that financing is a problem. They have to borrow often at usurious rates. We also know that they really need a lot of learnings from technologies because planting hybrid seeds, for example, high yield varieties requires quite a bit of knowledge from them, and so on. But what I want to to discuss, especially with you, is really the work that we do in terms of connecting them to markets. And so that's what I will. So Gawad Kalinga is going to connect them to markets, marketing support. That's the third thing that you see here. But we also will go through values formation because we know that a lot of problems in their own families can also create problems with them. And of course, business management support. So let me go through the what we do with them, and then come back, go to the marketing. So as I told you, this is a young group. And so one of the things that they do is to provide marketing support. And so, for example, they have QR codes. When you buy a product, like this farmer is a cacao farmer, and when you buy products from him, you can scan the code and it will tell you something about him. It will tell you that initially he had problems, but he's quite successful now, earns around 36,000 pesos a month from what he does, and has been able to help other cacao farmers. So it gives a description. We talk about relationships. So it not only connects the product to the market, but it tries to connect the producers, the farmers themselves, to the market. So right now, the program, it connects our Kusina ng Kalinga, our kitchens, to farmers directly. So we procure directly from farmers in the area. For example, in Marawi, we procure from Lanao del Sur. The same thing with another group called Bukid Fresh and Trabacuan. So you see here what we're providing for them: red onions, white onions, and so on.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, I don't know why. Okay. Kitchen City is a similar thing. It's like a, so the group also provides to hotels, restaurant, cafes, and Isabel's over there. And then Philippine Planters Fertilizers, their Clark and Taguig FTI sites, they require about 4 tons of assorted produce weekly. Monheim, they basically the big project for them that we provide is saba. They need 60 to 70 tons of saba every month. In fact, our problem is meeting the demand that they had. They also require fresh fruits and other processed goods. SM is quite interesting. I don't know if you realize that SM earns 360 million pesos from selling turon. So we're trying to, so they need 8 to 10 tons of saba every month. And so the challenge actually is that how to meet that demand. Royalty is also another one here. Cassava, I'm especially interested in this because a lot of our ATAs really are into root crops. So we especially want to help them because they're among the poorest. And Don Benito's, the products that they have for cassava, they actually require 120 tons, 170 tons a month. And so it's an opportunity for us to help mainly upland farmers, in particular the ATAs, so that they can sell more. And then for Christmas, despite the lockdown, we're trying to promote Christmas bayong markets, baskets, and so on. So that gives you some sense of what the group is doing. It's a very, very young group. I could actually share, maybe better if they themselves share what they're doing with you. I know at least 2 or 3 of them personally, and very young and very dedicated. The challenges that we face, there are challenges both on the market side. Sometimes there are months when they don't really need what we produce, and the standards that they demand. And there are also problems on the producer side, discipline. I don't know if you know what pole vaulting is, but sometimes farmers do not meet their contract because the price outside in a fiesta is higher, so they don't meet their contract. In fact, I told the group that I lost a lot of money in the 1990s trying to help farmers produce white potato in upland Bukidnon because they were not meeting their contracts. That's why the values formation is very crucial, and dealing with the farmers themselves. And so we discussed the values formation for the farmers, how to help them have the discipline to plant and to provide, to meet their contracts. We also discussed how to provide financing, because as you know, farmers are always in debt. So for the seeds, the fertilizers, the pesticides, they have to borrow to start, and sometimes it's usurious rates. So no matter what we do to help them, they're always been there. So Gawad Kalinga has been raising funds from international donors as kind of a seed fund, so that we can provide funding for the farmers at low interest rates. We're also providing a lot of grants. We're also contacting a lot of people who simply park their money in, let's say, in the banks. If they could just allow us to use their money, we'll give them the same interest rates as the banks so that we can take care of financing. So these are the challenges that we're looking at. One is the markets, but the other one is the surrounding environment for the farmers. And from our experience, I've also worked on this problem when I was in Cagayan de Oro. And I realized that markets, you need the markets, but you also need to handle financing, and you have to handle the discipline of the farmers. Sometimes it's the farmers themselves who do not meet their contracts or who do not plant regularly. And so the producer who buys this from them is going to give up. So that's where we are. It's starting. It's a program that Gawad Kalinga is pushing across the country. We have a young team, and we are hopeful that this will grow in the years to come. So that's what I have to share, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Ben. If we did not have this chat today, we would not know about this yet. And to me, this is something that should also be shared with the NAST. I'm still curious why, we are not focusing on what I think is the most serious problem in our country, which is poverty, hunger, and in your case, you emphasize malnutrition of children. So you have to leave before 9
Yes.
a.m. But I think before we ask, the group to ask questions or make comments, maybe we can hear first from Glenn. Glenn?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning to all. Yeah, I enjoyed the talk of Father Ben. I know it's really, we could see really the problems there, which I'll be relating to you also. I'll just to reinforce those challenges, because sometimes we look at the problems only with the traders or the industry, but we have to look also to the problems of the concerns of the farmers, which is financial, marketing, discipline, how to be faithful with the contracts. So what I'll be sharing to you is what's happening among the value chains during the time of pandemic. I'll share my screen here, but I have to put it into So I just want to share here that achieving food security in the Philippines and Southeast Asia. SHIRCA is looking not only in the Philippines, but the whole Southeast Asia and beyond. Amidst its growing population has been continuing a challenge. So having made more elusive, the food security becomes more elusive by the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. We have a paper published just recently in the Asian Journal of Agriculture and Development. This is on assessing the impact of COVID-19 pandemic production in Asia, which I want to highlight. The result of our study is the disruption in agriculture, food systems create supply and demand, economic performance, food security. Actually reduces the volume, production volume by 3.11%. That is 17 million tons due to the decline in agriculture and farm labor affecting about more than 100 million people in Southeast Asia, of course, including the Philippines. So our conclusion there is the COVID-19 pandemic caused about 1.4% decline in the gross domestic product of Southeast Asia. That's the average, which is equivalent to almost $4 billion. Look at the food security, If you look at the food security in Southeast Asia, using the Global Food Security Index, you could see here, the different countries, including the Philippines. The higher the Global Food Security Index, the more secure the country is. Of course, Singapore, Malaysia is in the upper part, and of course, the middle part, or the lower part is the developing countries in Southeast Asia. You could see here there's not much had been, the food security from 2015 up to 2018 has not much been affected. It's stable, but it's low. It has already stabilized or increasing a little bit from 2018 to 2019. It's going up, but this could not be sustained because of the pandemic. It might go down again. And you will observe here also the number of undernourished people in Southeast Asia from 2010 to 2017. So it's about 60 to 75 million people, or about that is about 10 to 12% of the total population of the region. So clearly you could see here that agriculture must not just aim to increase food production, but also to improve the nutrition status of the population. So it's really nice to say it's food nutrition and food security. I could not go down now. In my next slide, I'll just show you, which I was asked to talk about the value chain. The value chain of, you could see you could only appreciate the effect of pandemic if you look at the whole value chains. Please note that the whole value chain was much affected by the COVID-19 pandemic that creates the supply and demand shock affecting the relevant economic sectors, particularly agriculture. So you could see here that the mobility restriction has been affected as a result of the imposition of community lockdown initially. So some of the workers are young or too old, they could not go to their farms. So there's a reduce in agricultural productions. It's also caused by the farmers' limited access to farm inputs and access to market to sell the produce, which may result to profit loss and wastage of farm produce. In the long run, the loss of this income and economic slowdown would also result to decrease in demand, particularly among the farmers and farming families with no safety nets. So among Southeast Asian countries, agriculture remains the direct employment as much as 60 to 50% of the population. So what are the programs and initiatives in response to COVID-19 pandemic? I think the Philippine government is doing well here. As I mentioned, sometimes it's not being much appreciated, but I think the agriculture sector in the Philippines has some stability in buffering this problem. Of course, you will see a lot of news also. Some other areas had been affected, but you could see with this different programs and initiatives across the value chain response to COVID-19 by the government. You could see the impact of the COVID-19 per supply chain mode. You could see the transportation restriction brought about by the lockdown, increase due to unpredictable market change of the consumer's purchase pattern. You could see also the buying behavior and the preference shift in case of COVID-19 increase. So you could see the demand side. And these are the different programs and initiative response to COVID-19, like the farmers, agricultural initiatives, programs for innovation, resilience extension project. We have a lot of Kadiwa, ni Ani at Kita. I think the government is doing that. Open supply chain. And of course, the processors, the processing area. I think there are some cargo lane and food pass accreditation, digital agriculture. I think our government is doing that. In the distribution part, we have some plant program, provision for farm inputs. I think there's something they're doing there. And thanks also for the price freeze under the state of calamity in the Philippines due to COVID-19, because many of our businessmen also are capitalizing on this one, and some purchase limit of the staple crops. So these are the government intervention. But take note, the consumer's preference has changed. Some people are they look at the nutrition side also. Shift of market schedule, e-commerce, urban gardening, social distancing. These are the different, on the consumer side has changed. If you read the article, you could see all the details in that program. So there's in the COVID-19 have resulted to the change in consumers' preference actually. If you go to what we are doing at Shirka actually is in general is just reinforcing transform agricultural food system in the Philippines and Southeast Asia. Actually, we just developed our 11 5-year plan, which you have all the innovations there that we aim actually to accelerate transformation through agricultural innovation. There's a very long story there, but you just visit our website and you'll see where we could partner with you. So in general, I just show this one, my last slide. This is our aim is to accelerate transformation through agricultural innovation, which Dr. Ben has really mentioned. I want to reinforce it. We have to change the farmer's mindset from the present to the future. From farming, we look at sometimes farming is just a production. It's a linear value chain. We have to look at farming as a sustainable agribusiness. We have to look at this as an ecosystem thinking and also circular value chain. On the producer and service side, we have to look at it as presently it's a resource intensive, high waste emission, all those problems we see. Human resource development, which Father Ben mentioned a lot on how to, the discipline of the farmers. You have to transform them by embracing disruptive ag technology for future products and services with high efficiency and low ecological footprints, using agriculture 4.0 and also developing the next generation leaders for agriculture and rural development. For our key partners, before farmers are heavily dependent on the government. Now we have to look at the transformational leadership. We have to government act as enabler, but we should have a strong support by the academic, industry, government interconnectivity collaboration. I think that's very important. Don't look at industry as the evil one, but they are the real partners here. We have to look at the academic, industry, government interconnectivity collaboration. Changing the mindset from value chain thinking, product-centric analog, we have to look at the ecosystem thinking. We have to go into empowering the next generations, market-centric, impact-centric, digitally transformed, which Father Ben has actually mentioned a lot on this one. So these are the needed opportunities. We have to change the mindset, leadership, accelerated transformation, new finance system, which Father Ben mentioned a lot, new innovative methods in operations, new markets and business model, transform networks, and new technologies. Of course, what at Sherka what they're doing is accelerated transformation through agricultural innovation in education and collected learning department. We have research and thought leadership, and the new division that we are launching is the emerging innovation management and implementation. I want to emphasize is really the higher educations. Higher educations are the key players in society's overall ability to achieve the aspired food security and economic development, but they can aspire to contribute beyond towards economic development that is sustainable, inclusive, and friendly, and most importantly, resilient to the current, future pandemic and other anticipated disruption. So what I mean is the academic, industry, government interconnectivity should be there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn, for that very, very informative overview of Sharka's plan and the DA's ongoing implementation. So it would be good to showcase the projects, the successful projects of the DA, aside from the ones that we've heard from Father Ben and Mercy. We are highlighting the important or the critical role of the public sector, of the private sector, of industry, okay, in this
May I say something for that?
Security. So welcome the other participants in this chat. We are now halfway through the presentations, and at this point, I'd like to turn over the floor to Andrea Lobos, okay, to talk about your program with IAS, and then afterwards Gladys, and then we will hopefully have a time for a little open forum where Father Ben is still with us. It's now 8:36.
May I just raise one point, Giselle?
Yes.
Could I just raise one point?
Yes.
One of the problems I've found in our system is that DA and DTI don't really coordinate. I worked very hard on this in the 1980s and 1990s. I was giving the example that in the early 1990s, because of the destruction of piggeries and poultries in Metro Manila, the demand for corn dropped. And I was telling them, I was in Oro at that time, I was telling them that the Secretary of DA was very proud because they had a bumper crop of corn in Bukidnon. But I was telling them that they were rotting in the fields because nobody was buying. And the problem is that the metrics that are used for successful DA is simply ends with harvest. At least at that time, it ended with harvest, whether anybody bought it or not. And the metrics for DTI is simply the productivity of, say, maybe piggeries and poultries, whether they buy their corn from Bukidnon or they buy it from from fr- uh, from Thailand. There has to be a better way of measuring success for our government agencies, and one of them should be like in the value chain, whether they are part, whether they really see the part of, they're evaluated and how they do on the value chain that Glenn talked about. Because the farmer doesn't earn anything until somebody buys the product. And if it does not matter to the DTI where the corn is bought, then we have a problem. Anyway, this is something that maybe I present this because this is something that NAS maybe should talk about.
Yes.
Because it's a high level concern, and I don't know that it has changed yet.
Thank you, Father Ben. I think we should propose to President Rod. I was hoping she would attend this, but she's busy. There is a NASTA meeting on the SWOTs for the top areas of interest or problems in the country. And of course, I would always put food security at the top. So maybe we can start to discuss this at that SWOTs meeting, Father Ben. Thank you. Yeah. So Anne, are you ready?
Yeah, let me
Yes.
my screen. I will just turn off my video, or else I will be cut off
Okay.
later on.
Okay, now Anne, it's your co-host. Can you share?
Okay, yeah, I already shared. So this work that I'll be going to discuss is in collaboration with the Philippine fern expert academician Victor Amoroso, and also some of the analytical assays in collaboration with Yes Yunyo, as Giselle has mentioned. Now, the title that I have here is Bringing Back the Lost Value of Philippine Ferns. We know that ferns had been used by man as food since the beginning of times, but seem to have diminished over time, especially with the influx of designer foods, as they call it, and fast foods. So, with a push to have diversity in the world food basket, a study was conducted by Central Mindanao University in Muswan, Bukidnon, funded by DA Bar, to revisit the 10 edible ferns, and at the same time, they are also medicinal as alternative food source by demonstrating their nutritive value for health, and popularize ferns as alternative food source. Now, Paco in this slide here with the arrow is the most popular. Its scientific name is Diplasium esculentum, commonly known as Paco all over the Philippines. And it is the one that can be grown easily. And actually, it is the go-to medicine by the Talaandigs, the tribe at the ridge of Mount Kitanglad. Another fern, which is a tree fern here, is a go-to medicine for a tribe that lives in the ridge of Mount Kalatungan. Both of these mountains are in Bukidnon. Now, these ferns contain antioxidants, as shown here. We have analyzed all those, which are helpful in maintaining immunity and health. Proteins as building blocks of many enzymes and biologicals. Then we have vitamins, minerals, and high fiber content. Now, the protein content of the ferns are comparable to the protein content of the commercial vegetables. I am also showing in this slide the nutrient value, the nutrients in fiddlehead fern, which is a sword fern, which is the sought for fern in Northern America and in Japan. Actually, more likely, some of these nutrients may be present in the Philippine ferns also. That's something to be compared with later on. By the way, Yas will be discussing the metabolites, the secondary metabolites for the ferns. And propagation is an important part of this project because we wanted to maintain biodiversity in the mountain ecosystem in Mindanao. And then at the same time, it will be the source of food and also of medicine. Now, all the 10 edible ferns were propagated in the fernery at the beginning to acclimatize and cultivate them in small scale. And then later on, mass propagate at the foot of Mount Musuan. Now, at the left side, that's the Paco fern that we have at the foot of Mount Musuan. Now, depending on the habitat of the fern, in this case, Apat-Apat Farm is now in the lowland, which is in the rice paddies of Central Mindanao University. Now, included in this slide also are the 3 species of ferns that are easy to grow and that it will take a shorter time for them to be harvested. The fronds are used as food here for all these ferns. Now, Asplenium nidus, which is bird's nest, is the dominant fern sold in the restaurant market in Taipei. When you go to Taipei and then order food, as they prepare it, bird's nest is all over. I don't know where they have it. They might have a very large plantation. And then also, asparagus-like tasting ferns like teres and hagnaya are also easy to grow and can easily be harvested. So the cost and return analysis here are always included, and these are the ones that are very successful, and so as the other ferns. Now, in order to, as fern as source of food, we classify them as processed food. That's the first one. And the other one, garden to table. Now, in this case, we have vacuum packed pako so that it can be available at any time and anywhere. So we are successful in this. However, the cost and return analysis is a red. We are losing money unless we have large volume. Pickles and dried noodles, which are also processed foods from fern, are those that are income generating. And hagnaya and other ferns can be made into tea. So you can have a healthy component in that tea, and then also as flavorant. Now the flavorant is very versatile here because it can be used in chips, in cookies, and tart, something into a candy, and then flavorant coming from fern, all types of fern here. Now from garden to table, we held a food preparation contest in Central Mindanao University, participated by caterers, restaurant owners, and the CMU community. So in the slide here are the winners of that contest. There are 10, one for each species of fern that is a subject of this study. And out of the total of 26 dishes that was prepared that day, and these were judged by a sensory panel, and the food from fern spans from soup to salad to balls to pate to adobo and many others. And these are documented in a book published by the IBAR, Edible Ferns and Fern Recipe Book. This book contains the habitat, taxonomy, and morphology of each of the edible ferns, their propagation, their harvest, the harvest of the fronds for food, and also science of cooking, and naturally, the details of each of the recipes. And we have cost and return analysis also. So this is really income generating. And for the propagation of these 10 edible and medicinal ferns, we also have the IEC materials. These are easily shared to participants during our seminar field visit, during training, and many other activities, meetings that we have here in CMU to popularize the propagation of the ferns as alternative food source. Now, we also identified farmer adapters. One of the adapters are the Farmers Cooperative Inc. in Lake Balinsa, Sayao, which is a tourist destination in Negros Oriental. We collaborated with national scientist Angel Alcala and his son for this project in Lake Balinsa, Sayao. And we help them in the we help them and provide them some of the ferns coming from Bukidnon, and also planting them, preparing the area for the cultivation of the ferns, and also cultivation and propagation of these ferns. And then we also give training workshop on main, mainly information and knowledge about ferns, the components, important components that contribute to health, and so on. And then we also have at the end a cooking contest, naturally. And then you can see here bird's nest, agnaya, pako, and many other ingredients provided. And this is really a very success story for these farmers. Now they have a fern garden that supply the 10 edible ferns to their nearby cafeteria. So the garden is just outside the cafeteria, which is a tourist destination. So they serve these dishes to the tourists. And then at the same time, they earn money, they earn additional income. And interestingly, these farmer cooperators prepared the IEC materials for the propagation of ferns in their own dialect, so they can share it to their fellow men and farmers in other communities. And also we have identified farmers in Bukidnon, in Davao, and many others. And we have other seminar field visits attended and participated by LGUs and NGOs from all over Bukidnon, or all over Mindanao, and also the CMU community. So in this slide, I'm showing the tribes from Bukidnon and the Marilog District, Davao City tribes during our training workshop, which was held here in Central Mindanao University. So you can see that they are learning, and they are learning about the science, the preparation of food, the preparation of noodles, and they have a share, they taste it, and it's acceptable to them. And based on the training, they are using the ferns nearby in their community for preparing food. So that means with all the studies and with all the data and all the moves that we have to popularize ferns as an alternative source of food, it's easy for us to transfer the knowledge of cultivation and propagation of ferns as well as food preparation to combat hunger and malnutrition during the pandemic and beyond. Thank you.
Thanks, Annabelle. Um, oh, we are all thinking about pako at present.
Oh, I can make a salad right now.
Yeah, so it's as much about yeah, changing the mindset of food preferences, knowing the nutritional value of the food which you're looking into, as you showed in the recommended daily allowance. So, Anne, would you like to introduce Yas first, and then afterwards Gladys? Yes.
Okay, we'll have Yas, who will be presenting another alternative food source and also some of the analytical assays that they have conducted as part of the project on ferns. Yes.
Hello, good morning po. I would just like to share our results. So it's just going to be quick. I'm not sure if can you see po my I already shared my screen. So what I'm sharing with you now, it's just a table of all of the compounds that we identified from the fern products that were, or from the fern species that were discussed by Dr. Villalobos. So our work from my lab is to support the work that is being done by Dr. Villalobos and her team in CMU. So basically, support lang po kami just to identify all of the metabolites that are present. Surprisingly po, there's a major metabolite that is present in pako, and that is phosphocholine, different types of phosphocholine. And based on literature information, phosphocholine provides a lot of benefits, dietary benefits for its consumption, which includes basically in the development of the brain. It also has been there's also been studied that phosphocholine also uh, improve cognitive function, and it also been shown to have or aid in liver repair. Apparently it's also promote lipolysis or the breakdown of fats in the body. So maybe that's something that can be explored as an alternative way to consume ferns and to lose weight as well. So basically we've just started the research on metabolomics for the ferns, and we hope to continue the work in order to by knowing the metabolites present in the ferns, we hope to contribute to increasing the value of ferns as a alternative food source. So basically po, that's our work with Dr. Villalobos. And then in terms of when we were discussing on what to potentially work in terms of research, Dr. Anne and I were thinking what are the products that can be combined with fern in order for it to become an alternative food source. So Dr. Villalobos mentioned that sometimes what they do with the fern is they mix it with certain parts of flour, and then they use that to create noodles and bread and other products. So we were thinking, how about if we suggest alternative sources of flour, which we can get from the Philippines as well. So um, the motivation for that in searching for this alternative sources of flour is because nowadays, if you go through Facebook, because of the pandemic, people are into baking, and I know some friends who are experience shortage in flour supply because everybody seems to be want to be baking nowadays. So I was thinking maybe we can propose alternative sources of flour coming from really low cost starting material. And one of those, uh, let me just share again my different screen. Uh, yeah, this one. So this is just one slide. So I'll just share it now. So these are the two sources of alternative flour. This is not something new. It's all. I think it has been. It's gaining traction in terms of being alternative sources of flour. One is chesa, which is known as also as canistel, and the other one is breadfruit or rimas. I think there's an article which just came out recently discussing the importance of breadfruit as an alternative source of uh, flour or as an alternative source of carbohydrate. And in terms of addressing malnutrition, as you can see here, uh, chesa and breadfruit has a very rich amount of nutrition, especially chesa. I don't think it's a very popular fruit, but in terms of its nutrients, it can provide a lot of, it's a good source of vitamin A and provitamin A components. So I think it's a good way to explore that chesa and breadfruit to be alternative sources of flour. So this is something that I'm really interested in. Maybe it's something that Dr. Villalobos and I can work in addition to their work in Fern, because we think that if you have alternative sources of flour, you can fortify it with other alternative sources of nutrients such as fern and malunggay, and then you can uh, essentially create a product that's not only cheap in terms of the starting materials, but also provides additional nutrients that can address the malnutrition. So basically po, that is my contribution for this morning's discussion. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, very important contribution. I think that Anne, you agree that here in PAASE, the way we can also help our farmers in creating or securing the food value chain is to make available some state-of-the-art analytical tools, methods.
Yeah, yeah, that yeah, that is really good because breadfruit is also a subject of the study here of Dr. Amoroso right now, and we are preparing different types of food from that, food dishes from that one. So yes, that's really a great idea that we will
Yeah,
first, and then
yes.
breadfruit is already known here. They already surveyed regarding breadfruit in Mindanao. So that really is a good collaboration. Thank you, Yes.
And by doing your analysis, yes, you're adding value. You're confirming uh, the uh, the value of the yes of the food
Yeah,
product in terms of its constituents. Okay,
yeah.
its chemical by chemical constituents. So, is your lab open now? Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we're operational now. We had some problems with the instrument for the last few weeks, but I had a meeting with the RA, so and we're continuing our analysis as much as we can, provide under the constraints of the pandemic. But we're actively doing our research, po.
That's wonderful to know. And you well allow analysis from the private sector or from NGOs, right?
Um, as of now, ma'am, we're just supporting research on from academic institution because we need to. One of our issues now in accepting from private uh, entities is that we need to get a license to operate from PRC. So it's taking a little bit more time to process that because of the requirements that they want from us. But even if we don't have it from the private institution, we are very much we have a lot of samples that are coming in from different research areas. So basically, we support DDHP, Tuklas Luna, some of their program samples go to our lab, and then we also support individual collaborations like my collaboration with Dr. Villalobos. But in the future, we would like to have a facility that can also cater to analysis for private entities, so we can expand our services as well as expand our support for the industry, especially in the terms
It's
of
9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. I think Father Ben is not here. Or are you still with us? Father Ben, he's left us. But I think Al has a question. So, yeah.
No, it's more of a comment here, and there's a project that we're doing now with UP Mindanao in terms of converting Cavendish banana rejects for export to convert it into flour.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, so we'll need to loop up with you guys to join our forces together. And I also am Rick's support for regional inclusive innovation for DTI in Bicol, and we've been trying to get metabolomic profile for pili pulp. So
Yes,
pulp
sir.
coating. That's another work that I wanted Sana to us to explore. Yes.
Sir, we started doing the analysis on the pili oil. Because we had the gas chrome instrument, but then when we started doing the analysis, the gas chrome broke down. It's not my instrument. It was an old instrument in the Institute of Chemistry, so it broke down. So we were not able to finish the analysis. But now we have the max. Sir,
now the pili oil undertaken by Dr. Pham and Nico Dumandan in UP Los Baños. They have a published paper. Very good analysis on both pili oil extracted from the pulp and from the nut.
Okay.
So you can moving forward. But the pulp also, the profile for utilization as feed additive for the pulp might be another avenue that we are exploring for extra income for the Pili farm. I have a Pili farm that does 5,000 nuts a day that can provide us with the material. So we can do this.
Yeah, we can do the
Honest.
profiling to serve. I mean, we would like to work with as much people as we can because we would like to support different regions. So we would be very much welcome to be working with you on this project.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay, so we'll have our next presenter. That's Gladys, who will be talking about breast milk and the importance for this advocacy. Thank you. Gladys.
Yes, thank you. Let me just share. Oh, can you please make me a co-host?
Oh, I thought I had done that. But yes, please, there. Very good.
I was cut off.
I see.
Okay. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I'd like to share the studies I've been working on, the breast milk, and also what's the possible intervention we can do to help in addressing malnutrition. So that's my title, Addressing Malnutrition from Breastfeeding to Food Intervention. So I'd like to start with this number 1,000. As most of you may already know, this number represents the first 1,000 days of life that starts from the conception up to the second birthday of a child. And this number is very important because it gives the critical window of opportunity for the child's growth and development. And it turns out that Philippines is one of the countries with the highest incidence of malnutrition. As you can see here in the table, we are ranked 9th with the highest burden of stunting, meaning a low height for age ratio based on the World Health Organization growth standards median. And we're ranked 10th worldwide, suffering from the burden of wasting. And based on statistics, 1 out of 3 Filipino children below the age of 5 is either wasted or stunted. But what's more alarming, in the more recent survey, our country is actually suffering from the double burden of malnutrition. And what do you mean by this? This means that we have huge number of children suffering from wasting and stunting. At the same time, there is an increasing number of children that are obese and overweight. So clearly there is a problem. And why is this happening? And I'd like to connect this with the breastfeeding attitude or habit of Filipino mothers. Although the World Health Organization and the Department of Health recommends exclusive breastfeeding during the first 6 months, only very few Filipino mothers practice this. And in fact, where the Filipino families spend a lot of money in purchasing infant formulas. And if you ask the mothers why this is happening, their usual response is because they're working, or it's too inconvenient, it's a little bit hassle for them. But if you go to the poor communities, the most common response they will give you is that they're not actually producing enough milk. And so that means the mother itself is undernourished. So this is a picture of Jomar Bacaltos, which represents the face of the other 300,000 Filipino children with severe wasting. You can see that very thin bone structure, but huge head diameter. And also there's a picture of Jessica and her daughter Trista, who is already 2 years old. And you can see from the body structure of the mother that she is also undernourished. That's why she had a problem of producing enough milk. And although she's not earning enough, she didn't have a choice but to feed her daughter with the infant formula. But what's alarming is they thought in these poor communities, they think that feeding infant formula is okay because it's the same as the breast milk. Okay. So currently there is a problem, although I'm happy that Father Ben mentioned earlier that in Malabon, there is a very active 1,000-day center, but I think there's still insufficient reinforcement of breastfeeding among Filipino population. And one of the reasons for that is that mothers are not that knowledgeable on the benefits of breastfeeding. And if you read articles, there actually is an aggressive campaign of companies where they're claiming that. So there are these pamphlets being provided in the hospitals where they give even free samples, and they claim that these infant formulas are clinically to give the IQ and EQ advantage. And this, of course, these ads are very attractive and even seductive for poor mothers, of course, who wants the best for their child. So I'd like to share this study that where we, a small part of the study that we did, where we conducted seminars on breastfeeding, the advantage of it. And we also, of course, we needed to collect breast milk from the Filipino volunteers, mother volunteers. And this is the part where I would like to talk about what are these human milk oligosaccharides. So as most of us know, these are the major components of the milk, where the major component is the lactose. And we have, of course, they have lipids and proteins. And the third most abundant component is what you call the human milk oligosaccharides, or HMO in short. And sometimes it even exceeds the amount of proteins present in breast milk. Okay. And these are the sugars or present in the breast milk or in the human milk oligosaccharides. There are what you call maybe you know the glucose, the galactose, and glucnac, and there are fucose and uramidic acid, or NUAC, commonly known as NUAC, which is also a high component present in what you call the bird's nest. Okay. And so this human milk oligosaccharide is built on the lactose structure, and they can be classified either as fucosylated, sialylated, or non-fucosylated. And so what's interesting about HMOs is that they're actually indigestible in the infant gut. So if you analyze the stool of the infant, you can find these human milk oligosaccharides. They are present in the infant's stool. So if it's indigestible, what are the functions of this? Turns out they have a lot of functions. The first function that is very important is that they act as prebiotics. So they promote the growth of beneficial bacteria like the lactobacillus, the bifidobacteria, the clostridium. And these beneficial bacteria promotes the growth of the short-chain fatty acid in the infant's gut. And aside from being prebiotics, they also serve as what you call soluble decoys. So if you look at this cartoon picture, the structure of the HMOs, or the human milk oligosaccharides, are very similar to the structure of the glycocalyx, which is found at the surface of the epithelial cell. And because these act as soluble decoy, the pathogens, don't that attach to this glycocalyx anymore, but instead they attach to the HMOs, and they are eventually become waste, and the infection doesn't happen. And aside from acting as soluble decoys, they can actually also have the glycomodifying effects, where the glycocalyx, other structures of the sugars or the oligosaccharides are being made, which of course will inhibit the binding of the pathogens. And another most important function of the HMOs is that they have sialylated oligosaccharides, which are known to be involved in the brain development. And very recently also, they have shown the recent studies of Carlito's group, they have shown that few causes also involved in the brain development, although these still unpublished. Okay, so in our study, what we did is we collected more than 150 samples of breast milk, and we wanted to determine what types of mother do we have, because the production of HMOs are actually genetically determined. So we can identify mothers are secretors or non-secretors. So it is based on the secretion of ABH antigens that are found in bodily fluids such as the breast milk. And so secretor mothers, okay, it turned out that they produce a lot of this 2'-FL, this trisaccharide, due to the expression of the gene fucosyltransferase 2. Okay, while the non-secretors, they don't have this enzyme, but they produce a lot of these neutral oligosaccharides, human milk oligosaccharides. And what is the importance of the production of these human milk oligosaccharides? So here, this is just generally, the general population, usually there are 80% secretors and only 20% non-secretor mothers. So when we did that, our studies have shown that 81% of Filipino mothers are actually secretors. So they produce this 2'-FL. A lot of them produce this 2'-FL. And then 19% are non-secretors. Although they all, in terms of the production of the oligosaccharides, they are not significantly different in the abundance. So, and how is this important? What's the importance of this, the advantage of being a non-secretor or being a secretor mom? So aside from, so both secretor and non-secretor moms actually helps in the protection of, what do you call that? Protection of healthy microbiota, because of all those oligosaccharides present in breast milk. The microbiota of the infant guts is healthier. But if you're a mother, if you're a secretor mom, then a child that drinks your breast milk will be less prone to diarrhea and to other bacterial infections. But if you're a non-secretor mother, also, your infant will be more resistant to the viruses, to viral infection. So those are the advantages of mothers breastfeeding. Okay. That I think most of the general population is not really that knowledgeable. And so, as I've mentioned earlier, one of the problems that most mothers, especially from the poor communities, the reason why they're not breastfeeding exclusively is because they don't produce enough milk. And so we even compare this, if you try to compare the milk content, the oligosaccharide content of the cow's milk versus the human milk, here you can see that there's a very small amount of oligosaccharides present in the cow's milk, only around 0.1%. So that's really the reason why it's still best to do breastfeeding. And we also had a study where we analyzed the oligosaccharide content of the buffalo milk. And although it has less number compared, so here, if you look at this, less number, 61 or total oligosaccharides versus the bovine milk, which is 100, but we have more than 200 human milk oligosaccharides. What's very interesting about the buffalo milk is that it doesn't have this new GIC, sialic acid, that is also not present in human milk oligosaccharides. But the cow's milk and the goat's milk have this new GIC, sialic acid. And there's a lot of studies have been reported that new GIC is actually related to the people having cancer. So there's a lot of studies being connected to having new GIC in our body being related to cancer. And let me now switch gears by we together with Ma'am Giselle, Carlito, and with the UPLB team, because of the problem of malnutrition among lactating mothers and children below 10 years old, we would like to develop this, what we call a nutrient bar. So it's composed of rice, mung bean, and moringa. And I think Mom Giselle, do you want to contribute on the advantages of the moringa, the benefits of eating moringa?
Okay, so
I'll
yeah, Gladys, thanks, because it's so great. We're also showing a value chain here. So from
yes,
discussing the macroeconomics and the food value chains, we have this talk by Yas and Gladys on the basic science. It's so important. Your work with Carlito and Ruel Nacario, who's also in our chat now, is, I think, is very valuable. It's a PICARI funded project, right? And
yes,
then we're dovetailing it with research that I had on moringa, funded by the DOST PCHRD, on the metabolites, the anti-cancer and cancer chemopreventive metabolites in moringa. And we had identified about 6 compounds, and we had actually done lots of assays on them for anti-cancer, including effects on metastasis and invasion. And then this project was picked up by YAS with funding from the USAID Strive. And then when we connected with Father Ben, and knowing the field studies of Dr. Enrique Ostrea of Wayne State U in Malabon on infants, we thought that moringa is really worth pursuing, because then I also had the analysis, the macro analysis of moringa done, and it is confirmed that it's very high in protein, carbohydrates, lipids, all the macronutrients that we need in the body, as well as the micronutrients. It's full of small molecules that are protective, secondary metabolites, as well as, of course, chlorophyll, and also the important minerals, calcium and iron. Iron, very high in iron. So moringa would meet the minimum recommended daily allowance, and we just have to figure out the amount that we would put in the NutriBar. But then when we were looking at other food sources researched at the Institute of Plant Breeding, we looked at the research of Dr. May Mendoza on mung bean or mungo, together with other IPB scientists, and looking at its RDA, very, very high numbers as well. And so we are now thinking that we could develop a moringa and mung bean or M&M plus food product. And Gladys came up with this idea of a NutriBar, which the UP Food Science Department could produce. And we're aiming to do this. We would add other things like source of vitamin A enforced. Okay, perhaps make use of RICO, the rice corn product of the IPB, to prepare the NutriBar. So we're looking into these types of products to produce for Father Ben in his value chain, and have it distributed in the Ateneo Gawad Kalina Kusina and Maria centers, and just to ensure that the children have food with the MRTA. So I think that ends the presentations of our key discussants. And so thank you very much. And we would now like to open the floor to your comments and questions. And please turn on your videos if you wish, or raise your hand and I will call you. There's Al. That's Al. with
just
question?
to update, during the height of Yolanda, there was a Negrenses women that were providing Mingo, Moringa, and Mongo powder dehydrated already in Negros that we donated to, mainly because they were close to Tacloban already. But their claim was 1 cup was enough to sustain and it's only add water, not even hot water, just add water. And they provide enough protein and nutrition to sustain the people who have no access to food. I don't know if you've heard of it. I'm sure you probably, it's been 7 years since that time. But I spoke to them 2 years ago when we were in this science for a UP event. And they have scale capability of about a ton a month because of the Yolanda experience. And clearly to me, rechanneling their productivity and efforts towards addressing the first 1,000 days law might be an option if we can back it up, Gladys and Giselle, that with the right formulation that will promote both lactating mothers as well as the requirements of a 1,000-day baby, a person. So, but we need some clinical proof somehow. I know I visited Carlito's lab. I did ask him the same questions. Bifida is not useful here because we have Bifida. What is the next thing that's better? Was about the question that I've asked you, but you've answered it already, Gladys. And it's more towards helping mothers. So clearly this is one of those. And I do, having also wanted to support growth stunting as well. This would be a good solution towards that. But we need clinical proof so we can sell it to the NGOs and the foundations for them to support it as well.
For a clinical proof field studies for Moringa, we have it from Enrique Ostrea, a NAS corresponding member, MD, neonatologist. Okay, he worked on this, and it was funded by the PCHRD. Perhaps ask PCHRD about it. We're trying to connect with Enrique again. Okay, but actually, yes, powder that's readily available at this time. There's an organic version of it that is produced by Green Earth Heritage Foundation, Maylene Villafuerte Mati. And well, always the problem, I think, Al, is the powder does not readily dissolve or mix with any liquid like water. But it does with milk, actually. So you can actually do a kind of a smoothie with it. And so Gladys and I are thinking of also doing the bioavailability studies, either with the FNRI or with the UP food science labs. Okay, so I think there's a little bit more work to do, but it's great to connect us with the Negros source, because when we had a meeting with the IPV scientists, they said the problem always is sourcing it in large quantity, whether it is Moringa or it is Mongo. You'd be surprised. We cannot meet the demand of the tons that Father Ben and Mercy are saying, the private sector or, other industries. So we'll find a way to do it. Yes.
Mercy, do you know of the Negrenses Women Mingo? I was connected with a group. My wife's from Assumption, that's why. But they had a group that was donating to Yolanda back then. The product's called Mingo.
Is it an Assumption group?
And Mongo.
Is it a Bacolod group?
Negrenses or both the Bacolod, yes.
All right, we'll find out. I will look for that connect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go.
Yeah. Okay.
I met their head.
All right.
In Iloilo. Producing tons.
Oh, of course, I can connect with Assumption Iloilo. Kevin Villanueva is an alumnus of Assumption Iloilo as well. So I think Glenn has something to say. I'm almost sure Glenn was trying to raise his hand. Glenn, please.
I did not raise my hand. It's really, you are right, Giselle. Now Mongo and Moringa, you have the volume problem, because I went to the industry and they could not supply us the Mongo. I think Mongo, we are importing Mongo. 90% of Mongo is imported. I think you have only one big area in Isabela who was producing Mongo. This is San Mateo, and some are in Visayas and Mindanao, but small part. But I think 80% But that's only maybe 5% of our Mongo requirement is produced in the Philippines. We're buying it in Australia, in Myanmar, and China.
But in our case, so I went to SNR and I bought the Mongo pack. It looks so nice. Okay, and I love it. But then, Gladys and I and May were saying, even if we have to use imported just as proof of principle, diba? We can show that the M&M bar or whatever, the powder, we have to do the bioavailability first. But we also have to put it in form that is attractive to our children, school children. For the mothers, pwede naman yung powder, di ba, Al? Wow, that is a great resource. If you have it in Negrense, in Iloilo, we can find that source.
We need to reformulate that dose specifically for this use case.
Yes.
So that's one thing I always tell people. You may have the right technology, but if you don't formulate it properly to a particular customer, you may not succeed.
So that is where the market, like Jollibee or Chowking or whatever it may be, they will also be into these Nutri bars, no? But I'd like to ask Mary Jane. Mary Jane is very near Isabela. I understand when we visited Anne, when we visited CSU and Mary Jane, I think they have also a coverage all the way to Isabela. Are we right? Mary Jane, would you like to say something?
Yes, Dr. Concepcion.
Yes. Mary Jane, hi.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Good morning, Dr. Anne.
Hello.
Dr. Glenn Gregorio, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Okay. Anyway,
actually, Giselle, on the supply side, you have to look also because I'm doing some Mongo breeding before. So you have to look Mongo also. There are 3 types of Mongo. Mongo for toge, Mongo for soup, and Mongo for yung sabi lang powder. Kasi yun so those are different quality. For the supplies, I'm a plant breeder. So we develop Mongo for toge type. Kasi that's also a very good source of vegetable, tong toge na kailangan nating ikuans. If you go to Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, lahat ng vegetable soup nila may toge. And I think we have to develop that. So it's a nice, from the supply side up to the demand side, you have to look at it. It's a very beautiful study actually.
You can ask Mary Jane to look into the sources of Mongo from Isabela of the 3 types. No? I hope there's a chance for pros to input on what you see might be an opportunity to further connect our the value chain, but also I hope there's a little time for us, Glenn, Al, and everyone to discuss what we call our home or garden farming, because to be honest, in my backyard, I'm able to grow vegetables, moringa, okra, and eggplant, successfully. Okay, and I know these are all nutritious food, even eggplant. That's why we have biti talong, because it is a cheap, nutritious vegetable, affordable to so many. But do we have a teaching program for doing this, for self-sufficiency? So I think that's important, Mercy, for your nanays to promote. You told us that they grow for themselves and then yung kanilang excess, syempre binibenta. Now, the idea of the community or the cooperative growing together in is it a common plot of land aside from their backyards? Or maybe you can describe it to us, and then maybe Ross has something to say about it. I have Joyce Ibana here with lots of great ideas. Maybe you can also input. Nova Ramos, thank you for joining us. And AJ Sagut, thanks for joining us. So the floor is open. Yes. Anybody? Rainier Mendez?
Yes.
Ed Rodriguez?
Just to comment, there is an effort towards in UPLB right now to indeed to get the complete set, the SNAP solution, the urban farming capability to be deployed. We're forming a new technical working group. Maybe I'll get some input from Glenn as well. But there is demand. Clearly, I was asked last year by Father Anton Pascual of Caritas Manila to deploy urban farming capability to Baseco compound and have yet to come back to him. And this is the same things that I can supply Mercy, probably the same technology that your nanas can definitely use to increase. There's an urban farm group, German guy that was presented with Joel Coelho recently, and they tried to do it in Tondo last year, but it didn't scale up. Apparently, it was a curiosity, but didn't scale up, mainly because the feed solutions were not available and expensive to start with. That's why Father Anton were asking me, Al, can we do production of SNAP solutions, which is the one that you use for hydroponics in the urban area. So it's, again, it's an system approach. We need to look at all the supply chain, the equipment, the worker, the market as well. And it's moving forward. We have a bit of that. And I think as we progress in this effort, we'll keep everyone posted on how you can help, maybe from Metabolomics, CS, or Gladys. It can be supporting the 1,000 days and the lactating mothers. Glenn can obviously address the species and agricultural issues. And Joyce, I mean, you're equivalent also in the you have a Carabao production. You're very close to the Philippine Carabao Center. Maybe the Carabao milk can also have a play in this one.
Yeah, that's great. So Al, thanks for that. But I think what we would like to emphasize to Mercy, who's in touch with her nanais who are involved in production, is PAASE can help in maybe producing the tons that are required by the private sector. And Al, we should focus on the harvest, the planting, the harvest, and post-harvest mechanization. So we have in PAASE members, engineers who may start to build equipment that are required by the farmers and the nanais. So let's look into that. Then yes.
Storage, dehydration,
Joyce
and
wants to speak, I think. Yes. Yes, Al.
Meron.
Meron.
For you, just ask.
I know. I'm very excited about Earl Dranreb Waniko in TIP. I think their team and the son of Beth Lajos is into it. They can build equipment for us. Okay? So Joyce, we'd like to hear you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Ma'am Giselle. Kala ko medyo. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone because it's I'm kind of new actually. I'm realizing now that I don't know a lot of things in the value chain, and I'm more of a basic scientist. But we're finding little things about Carabao milk and seeing how there's similarity with human breast milk, and also what I'm trying to do right now, I'm trying to focus on where I could add in this value chain. For example, when I look at HIA's data on the Chesa, so apparently it has a lot of tryptophan content. And something that we're trying to develop in our lab is yung mga assays for kung anong pathway. For example, this is important. For example, tryptophan is so important in serotonin pathway. And if you have infection, when you have this enzyme indolamine 2,3-dioxygenase, it will go to the kynurenine pathway. So we're trying to develop like what food you can put with high tryptophan so that it will be skewed towards, this is important for things like depression, yung mga ganon. So, inisip ko, there's so many, saka sleeping. So, tapos nakita ko rin po yung kay Ma'am Villalobos, yung how you can actually package the whole product. For example, Focus and Fern, and you have a cookbook. So, I thank you all for yung mga ideas on what we can do, for example, focusing on Carabao. So, I am just learning here, and I'm very grateful for your input at kasi medyo ang dami kong naumpisahan, I'm moving them paunti-unti lahat pero hindi ko na alam kung paano yung value chain, so I'm just learning po. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Joyce, for everyone's information. Joyce is an artist scientist, and the way she thinks is very creative and holistic. Kaya baka mamaya matutulungan pa ni Joyce si Mercy at si Anne about you know, the evocative part of, you know, the work that we're doing through art, no? So,
Yeah.
Actually,
Giselle,
Thank you.
yes,
Giselle,
Mercy, yes,
Giselle, you're
yes.
so well connected. Can we ask our government institutions to keep on communicating via media? Because our people are so ignorant, like the Tiesa. You go around the barrios, it's just falling from the tree.
Falling. Wow, yucks.
Nobody. I'm the only one who's eating it, and they will say, "Yuck, mom."
Yes, so valuable. And then dilaw,
Ignorante.
ang daming vitamin A dyan.
Kaya nga. And
Talagay
then they're
tayo,
wondering why I'm eating pako. I
nag-GG.
grew up on pako in Camiguin Island
May
during
vitamin
the war.
A.
That's
Oo.
yeah.
Yan.
I
So
mean,
mga
but our people are so ignorant,
natural
really.
products. So, Glenn, syempre yung vitamin A rice, yung golden rice natin, no? So much technology and to, you know, to add vitamin A to our diet, no? Of course, that is, ako naman, I always think also of staple. Syempre yung bulk cereal, you have to address that. And then you have your you know, protein diet and all the other stuff, no? So we also have to approach
So much wealth of information just
yes,
this morning.
I know.
And it's all kept in the book.
Well, it
Sayang.
yeah, it's so valuable. Well, I'll
Actually,
tell you.
Al, we will be going back to the volume. Pag sila yung Tiesa available, but hindi siya, if I'm a manufacturing company, is small scale, hindi, not all seasons available yun. Minsan isang puno lang doon, isang puno dito. So we need volume. So balik ulit tayo sa problem.
Planting.
We can plant that. We can plant.
I have one proposal, Giselle. We have this, we were approached by the Department of Agriculture. They have a plan to establish the National Seed Technology Park at Clark. They have already some money. We are developing the business model dito. I think this is where PAASE could really help kasi everything starts with the seed, good source of seed. This will be a growth for seed industry, ensuring use of high quality inputs, modern technology, processing, post-harvest hanggang demonstration. I think PAASE could really help. I think yung mga pinag-usapan natin, we could help out because this is where the academy could join in to, because they will be offering the processing area, the quarantine, the market, the linkage for a national seed technology park. So this will, in agriculture development, seed is very important. Start with a good seed.
Right.
Yes, a seed ba to grafting, to tissue culture, to developing hybrids, up to even GMO. Dito yun ang maging hub niya. So we will have seed technology. I think we are now developing the business model for this. I think Al will be very, very helpful dito. I think we could, PAASE could really help dito. And we could direct the one. I could share to you the proposal, and we're developing the blueprint. So I have actually with me the National Seed Technology Park, and it is funded now with 200 million starting money, and this is where we could really have modern technology for processing and market linkages. Actually, ang objective dito is to stimulate innovation, generate economic benefit for the business and the farmers. Kasi yan ang assurance ng business natin, ng seed. Start with a good seed, and everything will follow.
Start with a good seed. Actually,
Mansi Lagman has been funded by Stride 5 years ago and has been moving for both cacao and coffee for genetically tagging and the perfect varieties, and we've deposited in Cavite State, but definitely she completed including GIS mapping for where to locate the plantations for coffee. It's a holistic project that is an example of about 15 million.
So pwede, I think, Pros, meron talagang opportunity dito, Pros Naval, no? Dr. Pros Naval, who's the director of the computer science. Yes, Pros, for DIS, for me, ano natin dito is major food crops muna, no? Pero yung modelo ni Ni Menchi talaga from a very successful Strive grant. It's very good to adopt.
Yeah, may I be allowed to comment, Giselle?
Yes, thank you.
Here, Father Nebres and I think Mercedes talk about their initiatives to help the farmers, to connect the farmers directly to the consumers, no, not consumers, but the companies like Jollibee and all these uh, yeah, restaurants possibly. No, I think it's really a very good idea. And Father Nebres um, brought up values formation as something that's crucial. No? We can easily make apps that can connect people, that can connect farmers, fisher folks to consumers directly. However, I think the bigger problem would be the attitude of the farmers and the fisher folks, the discipline. I think we should invite Helen Yap to talk about what we did. I'm sure, Giselle, you're familiar with the study that we did.
Yes,
Actually
yes.
published two papers, two journal papers on that. No? So more of not so much the technology, but the the social aspect, the attitudes of farmers. And why are they still, despite being given opportunities, still mired in debts and so on? It's the attitude, no, because you see, as a fisher folk, as a farmer, life is very difficult. No? So when they are given a little bit more money, what they do is they spend this for entertainment. So they have television, but then in the provinces, the usual form of entertainment, especially among the men, is drinking and sabong, unfortunately. No? So uh, any additional income actually goes to that, no, because we cannot really blame them because life is difficult, no.
Okay,
So I think that there has to be a social or a values formation initiative, no, like the one promoted by Father Nebres, and this will actually be the one to help them get out of poverty. So even if you give them all the implements, the technology, in the end, any little additional income that they receive will be wasted, will not actually help them, will not actually help their families. No? So it's really a big, very big problem. It's more than using science, technology, all that. No? So the social aspect is,
yes.
the values formation aspect, discipline, and all that is really very important, and it is crucial, in fact. So something that we cannot ignore. And it is something that is very common. So I think we should invite Helen Yap to talk about the insights that we got from the studies that she made. So that's one thing that I'd like to say. And the second one is smart agriculture. So AI, as we know, is all over, and it's being used now in agriculture to, for example, detect diseases, pests in crops, to monitor health of the soil and the crops themselves. We have drones that actually move around to determine which parts of the huge farm will need insecticide or whatever, which parts are sick, which parts, or is it time to harvest this grain, because from the cameras from above you can actually determine that. So I think the technology is actually no longer, you might say, advanced technology. Is now being commoditized, no. It's now common to have this, no. It's You can buy a drone for maybe 5,000 pesos, no. Maybe of course, for a commercial system, you need a bigger one and more expensive one. But it's really within reach of a lot of people now. And even AI is also within the reach of, uh, it's no longer really high tech, no, because it's really being democratized, no. So I think we should take advantage of this, to have innovative solutions for smart agriculture. It could be in the form of putting sensors in the farms, or drones that go around and check the health of tobacco farms or rice farms. Or so all these things are this is something that we can already do in the Philippines, and it's no longer high tech. We might say that it's only a few can do it. No, we can do it. We can a lot. We have now young students, young engineers and technologists who can do all these things. So I would like to pitch for that. No? So encouraging people to get into go into smart agriculture. I'm sure Al has a lot to say about this as well.
Yeah, I think Lulu has something to say, and then Al. Okay, Lulu, yes. Thanks, Ross. Very valuable.
Okay. I just want to mention something. I'm a little bit shocked about the statistics of malnutrition in Southeast Asia, in the Philippines too. So perhaps education, K to 12 education, will help in educating them about Paco, Moringa, nutritious, are they indigenous plants in the Philippines that they can even grow in their backyard, educate them. And when they become mothers, they themselves will yearn for Moringa. So they will have, isn't that one of the things that is a plus to create their milk? So they will, so I think K to 12 education should beef up nutrition education. That's what I'm suggesting.
It's very important, very, very valuable. And Lulu, in the rec on education, you could actually decide on what the materials you could develop if you want to focus to be on food and nutrition. I mean, you could develop this type of material. But going back to what Mercy said about what yeah, we're doing in PAASE to try to organize our materials so that we would have more publicity. We're actually in the process of thinking of coming up with our YouTube channel, PAASE YouTube channel. And it just dawned on me that maybe the framework that we use as our thumbnails, and I shared this with Al the other night, is the thumbnails of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So there are 17 areas there, thumbnails. And you know our hundreds of talks in PAASE and our discussion groups, they would fall into any of those 17 SDGs. And I think, by trying to use that as our framework, immediately, if you have that, for example, in your website, as part of your PAASE YouTube channel, and then we have a mascot or we have a champion where we would have interviews of us, okay, the PAASE members on any subject at all. And I'm thinking of Atom Araulio, okay, Atom Talks, okay, for PAASE, with interviewing PAASE members. Then immediately when you search, SDGs, it picks up anyone or everyone who uses that framework. So it's just an idea. But Mercy, yes, we're trying to organize the information. And then as far as cross comments are concerned, mindset, change of mindset came out in the talks of Mercy, Father Ben, and of course, Glenn also. Referring to Helen Yap, that is a UPE-IDR program called One Ecosystem, led by Helen, with Ross and social scientists from CERP, right? It's Joseph. Is it Joseph? Or the other brother of Helen? I forgot. Well, they came up with many analysis of a complex system, and they were dealing with mangyans. So, Anne, you're dealing with itas, okay? Growing the ferns. but Helen and Pros and their team, is it John Rabantang also of physics, they came up with a study that's been published, and it's on a complex systems approach to the analysis of what, conservation and productivity would be in it's Mindoro Occidental, right? Abra de Ilog. Yes, one of our top EIDR projects. So it's so good that Pros, you're offering smart technologies, and I hope that Sharka is aware of what Pros expertise could bring, say, to the DA, maybe connect with the DA. Mercy, if there's anything that you would need guidance on, there's Pros and his team. Okay, that's also developed one of our leading technologies in UP, which is fish eye. Fish eye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Giselle, I just want to mention quickly with Pros and Pros here. We are launching tomorrow. We'll be launching our Innovation Olympics. This involves the youth, the college. The Innovation Olympics will be, our theme is a precision agriculture. So we are inviting a team of youth, including out of school youth, at least isang out of school youth and college level or high school up to masters. Then they will form and create, they will pitch to us their innovation on digital agriculture or precision agriculture. Then we'll get one from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, I think 5 finalists. Then we will giving them some money for a startup to show what we'll be giving mentors. Then after that, after 4 months, they will come back and we'll be having the Innovation Olympics. They will pitch again what they have, they got, then we'll be awarding first, second, third, and we'll be helping out for them to have a startup project. So those are just a simple way of Circa is doing with East West Company, with Syngent, and with UP, and the universities from CLSU, CMU, and Visca State University. So those are just example of how we are doing digital agriculture right now.
Fantastic. So let me tell you, Glenn, before I ask Al again to speak, and then I would have to refer to your National Seed Bank program. I think that is a very, very important program that we should all support, starting with the UP Los Baños Institute of Plant Breeding. Okay, and I think I benefited during COVID from receiving the seeds from the Department of Agriculture. They were distributing this for free. So talagang merong advocacy si Secretary Dar dyan sa seeds. Pero how do you grow the seeds properly? Para nun, talagang they will be able to, communities and homes would be able to, grow their own.
Yeah.
As well.
Actually, we could organize because at Circa we have the School Plus Home program, School Plus Home project, which is we are introducing it. We have already private school, we have already the pilot school, and they are now nanganganak na yon, and we are now have 98 schools or developing the School Plus Home program. Now we are focusing on the home kasi marami ay wala na sa school, punta kami sa home, and now we are expanding it in Busuanga and even in Cambodia. So I think there's a lot of projects around na pwede nating itap, and we could scale it out, and it will really help. Kasi hindi natin alam yung may maraming projects tayong hindi natin alam na nung iba. So it's just a matter of consolidating them, and we'll work together. And I think that's beautiful.
Oo. Yung kinuwento mo rin na yung Olympic.
Yeah, Innovation Olympics too.
Innovation Olympics. Actually, in-institutionalize na yan ng AIM. Yung kay Chris Monterola, kay Erica Legara, yung kanilang masters in innovation and business. Ang dami nilang estudyante doon na ang kanilang thesis defense has got to do with presenting it in 3 phases, in 3 stages. Pitching. And of course, it's all mostly focused on developing the apps. So
actually, yeah.
For any industry, food,
our Innovation Olympics, Olympics 1, ang nanalo ay estudyante ng AIM. Sila yung nanalo. So just to give you an example. So, and many are really doing it. And yung nanalo ay may business na sila ngayon. Mga innovation, MS in innovation, industry innovation graduates sila. And ngayon may business na sila, nag-full-time na sila doon. So just an example of some outcome.
So
that's why we have the innovation.
Talagang nakakapaghanga talaga yung AIM. And yun na yung seed ng UP na nandun na sa AIM dahil nandun sila Chris and Erica. Alam mo yung mga projects nila is may corporate social responsibility and it's on the public good projects. Agriculture, aquaculture, health, etc., plastic pollution, energy, nandinig ko lahat yan. Maraming taga-UP, pero marami rin mga anak ng mga mayayaman na can implement it sa business, no? Including urban planning. Anak ni Architect Palafox is already with an app on a city planning. And I know it because I sit in as a panelist in the thesis defense, no? So probably you're referring to the coffee guy or the specialized rice products couple in Isabela. Merong ganyan. They're already into their startups. So I'm saying it's starting, and it's the real way to it is really through AI and apps, pros. Kasi every step of the agriculture process from farming, production, post-harvest, pwede talagang minamonitor nila, nagkakaroon na sila ng metrics. Yun din ang mga tinuturo ni Chris at ni Erica, no? Data gathering, tapos metrics for quality. So I think it's starting to come to a head. I don't mean na kailangan talagang PAASE merong unique or publicized contribution. Di naman tayo ganon, Al, di ba? We're not that way, Lulu. No. As long as we're able to help, we're fine. Okay, we know in our hearts internally that we are able to help. And Mercy here is already way ahead of us. So it's amazing. Through her life's career, ang dami na niyang ginawa for public good. And now, like Father Ben, na-realize niya, talagang you have to go back to the nanays, you have to go back to the farmers. Because mukhang talagang it's cultural. It's a social problem, no? Ross, you said it so, I think, eloquently, and you hit the nail on the head. So, Al, any other words of wisdom for the whole of us, okay, that you want to share?
We need to create teams of mercy, the real people in the front lines who know the real problem and what they need to help them. And then what we do is, like Glenn is presenting us with a whole analysis of the value chain, and Mercy can say, yan, kailangan ko yan. Ito, hindi masyado, yun. And then we tackle the problem as a team and look for stakeholders that are willing to pitch in and support, and technologists in the PAASE team that can also contribute in the solution. So tingin ko, the way it works is, it starts with the user need. And I would love to support Mercy and Father Ben in your efforts, but clearly,
thank you so much.
Dr.
Yeah, we're really gathering, coming to a head about this.
Thank you, Al.
Al, I think Father Ben, we are just going to be behind Father Ben in NAST to try to bring this to the attention of the NAST and the DOST, itong importance of the value chain. And I hope that we can have this kind of discussion format na focused on particular problems. Ito food, hunger
reduction.
Okay, and I'll show Rod the transcript or the recording of this meeting, and then we can have a variation of this in NAST. And he could invite Helen Yap and your team, Pros, to talk about research on the social aspect that's been voiced out by Mercy, Father Ben, and Glenn. Pero in the case of Helen and Pros, may publication. So talagang it is a scientific study of the social problem. Okay? And complexity.
Empirical data regarding how many percentage of people doing gambling, sabong, and all that. No? So it's well documented also, including interviews. This.
So,
Yeah.
and in the most
Kulang pa yung sinabi mo, Pros. May isa pang sakit. Womanizing.
Ayan. Oo.
The number one problem of the nanays, their men are just womanizers.
Yeah, so that's where Father Ben will come in.
No, but that's really true. We invest a lot also in value formation. In fact, next week, we are giving them a gender module. The farmers, we're giving them a gender module, which I got from the SWD.
Well,
kasi grabe, masyadong macho na,
Mercy,
napaka-macho.
Advocacy rin syempre yan ng Zonta. Marami rin tayong materials and speakers for that. Meron ang UN Day na sineselebrate ang Zonta as gender issues. Yan nga yung ang subject. May speaker tayo dyan.
And I blame the mothers. We are not growing our boys properly.
Ayan.
We're spoiling them.
It's so true. It's cultural. It's so cultural.
And it's showing among the farmers.
Mama's boys talaga, Mama's boys. I mean,
training on at 10.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Everyone.
Thank you so much. I learned so much today.
I learned so much today as well. Yeah, I'm always humbled by the knowledge that I get from all of these chats that we have. And as I always say, we become personal, professional, and academic friends and collaborators. Okay, so thank you all, and we'll have more of this as long as we can sustain it. Next week, it's about 4 women presidents and what they're doing, in their universities, including TIP, UE, Central Escolar University, and Our Lady of Fatima University, if you're interested. Thank you so much, Yas. Now you're showing yourself. So great. Gladys, fantastic presentations you did. And thank you so much to my co-host, the lead researcher, mukhang wala si Andito. And then to you, Mercy, and all our participants and the friends. Thank you so much. Good day, everyone.
Thank you also.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Lulu, good evening. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Picture.
Bye.
Picture. O sige, picture. Oh, picture. Okay, saan ko lalagay itong picture?
Makita niyo tayo lahat. Si Iyas, nagpakita na eh. Kita mo. Di, lahat na tayo.
So, Roel, ba't hindi ka magpakita, Roel? Yes. Ano ba yan? Okay, thank you. Ready, set, go. Roel is showing himself. Okay. Thank you. And more power and more unified action to all of us. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Ay, nako.